mean, the fact that the 82 games are done, who had the best season out of those 4 players? Minus the record. Let's look at it like that. Who had the best season out of those
Minus
4?
the record. See, I mean, if you're going to say minus the record, I'm going to say Luka statistically had the best season just because he averaged like 34 or 35 points a game.
Yeah.
He is the Dallas Mavericks, even though they have Kyrie Irving, but he is his numbers were video game numbers. Like they just didn't make sense. It's like what, like James Harden obviously did it, Michael Jordan, Kobe, etc. But those guys are like elite scorers, so it's a very elite company that he joined, whatever. But if outside of record, Luka should get it, right? But again, I can't do that because obviously my metric is good is based on the record, but it's got to be Luka. But even so, Shai averaged what 30, 31 points a game, something like that. Luka only averaged 4 points a game more. Like,
it's not a big deal. I mean, it's a gap, but it's not.
It's a gap. Don't get it twisted. It's a gap, but it's not like it's like he averaged 35 or 34 or whatever, and then like everybody else averaged 25 and under. You know what I'm trying to say? Like there were a few players that scored 30 points a game. But yeah, Luka outside of record had the best individual season, so Luka would get it. But if we're gonna add records, Shai should get it based on what I'm seeing because there's like people who are tracking what like voters are saying on TV and online and stuff like that. Jokic is probably gonna get it. It's just what it is. Yeah. I don't know about
a lot
you.
of these people that have the votes are in the media and they voice their opinion every day, right?
Right.
Yeah. It probably will be Jokic just because it's a little bit of a combination of both. Like they had the record, they were tied for first up until the last game, and he is quite the dominant player and the systematical player as well. I did see a comment on one of our videos and said, don't underestimate how stacked the Denver Nuggets are. They win a lot of games without Jokic even playing those games. I think they still had like 600% or 0.600 in terms of winning percentages without Jokic. Great point. That's a really good point. But are they really playing the same type of basketball when he's out on the court and when he's not? I think it really changes the style of how they play. And it really takes them from that point of being like, you're a good Western team to like, you're the team to beat. You're the best team. You're the dominant team. You know what I mean? Because we don't even talk about Denver because we already think that they're going to end up in the West Coast Finals. Like, it's redundant to talk about the team that you already think is the best. That's why you don't even consider LeBron for MVP anymore, or you didn't after like 2013, because we just got tired of it kind of thing. And it's just like, he's going to be there. So, it wasn't really the most exciting conversation. But yeah, I think if I had to rank them, I'd put Jokic number 1 as my first. I mean, like minus Luka because I think Jokic should win it. Jokic number 1. I'm gonna put Luka 2, Shai 3, and Tatum 4. But let me ask you something because you've been mentioning that Shai should get it based on record and the output of how well he's been playing. So shouldn't you think that Tatum should be right there with him though?
To be honest, actually, you're funny you asked that question. You're right, but I guess what the problem is, right? I guess what certain voters look at is like, okay, what would your team be like without that potential MVP? And I guess that's how people kind of maybe shorten the gap to who can be MVP. I don't think the Boston Celtics are a great team solely because of Jason Tatum. And I think that's the problem. You see the 3 guys that you named, right? Shai, you take Shai off OKC, they're not first. They're probably a playing team, maybe. That's a huge maybe, right?
Sure.
You take Jokic off the Denver Nuggets. You said that they won like 60% of their games when he was on the court. Sure, but like they're not winning anything meaningful without Jokic. So again, like it doesn't matter. And the Mavericks, they're like we've seen time like year in year out. The Mavericks are literally Luka Doncic. Like they need Luka to get as far as they go. So I think that's why Jason Tatum doesn't get that a little bit of more respect for being an MVP caliber player, just because the other teams now, like they're more, even though they have good supporting cast, they're more one dimensional when it comes to determining how good they are as a team, if that makes sense. Versus like you take Jason Tatum off, you still got Jaylen Brown. Like you're paying him $300 million. Like I don't want to hear that he's not. Like I don't want to hear it, right? I don't want to hear it. Like who else on OKC Dallas Mavericks, like Kyrie didn't even get a max contract when he signed with the Mavericks, like on the Nuggets, like Murray's not an all-star. Nobody on that team is an all-star. Like like the only person to win. Actually, you know what? I lied. Yeah, nobody's won anything outside of Jokic, like individually. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So I think that's why. You know what I'm trying to say? But I think out of the three, the Shai, Luka, and Jokic, I think OKC has the worst team when one of those three guys are not playing. If I'm making sense. If I'm making sense to you, I don't know if I'm making sense,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so like when Shai doesn't play, their team record's worse than when Jokic doesn't play and when Luka doesn't play. So again, I want Shai to win, but I know he's not going to win. So I just got to accept. I got to accept Jokic this year, man. I just got to accept it. It is what it is, yo. Can't cry
Yeah.
about it.
Facts. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think Dallas would drop. They would plummet as well. I really think without Luka, they ain't shit.
Even with
Whether
Kyrie.
yeah. I
So
want to see some games. There hasn't been too many, too much of a sample size. But I'm gonna look into that and see what their record is. And like I said, they've definitely done much better in the second half of the season after the All-Star break. But I really want to see I wish there was a little bit more of a statistic to figure out how much he brings to the table and who they are as Dallas Mavericks without Luka. You know what I mean? Like where do they rank in offensive rating, defensive rating, all those things, But
hold on, but let me defend Kyrie a little bit, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of disrespect going on for him. Not you. I'm just saying, just in general. Like the Mavericks without Kyrie Irving, because I think he didn't play a good chunk of the season this year. The Mavs without Kyrie Irving are like a 47% win team, right? So Luka, the same guy that everybody's saying is this great guy, when Kyrie's not on the court, they're a sub 500 team, right? Again, I'm just trying to make my point, but the 11th place team in the Western Conference was the Houston Rockets, so they were 500, right? So if you want to prorate that, right, the Mavericks would be 12, 13, 14, or 15. If you want to prorate, obviously certain things can happen and blah blah blah. But I'm saying if you want to prorate it, the Mavericks wouldn't even be a playing team with Kyrie. So that's why I was trying to explain to you that, like, I can't give Luka that. Oh my God, he's that guy, because Kyrie plays a big part into them being successful. And even as successful they are right now, they're still fifth. So there has to be more out of that. And you know what I'm trying to say? And like, so that's all. Like, I just don't want the Kyrie getting disrespected as if like he's just PJ Washington or Daniel Gafford or one of these guys that are on the team, where it's like, no, you need to win. And like, even with that, like, Luka's played a lot better ball with Gafford. They're like 20-2 when like Gafford's on the court with him or some shit like that.
yeah.
So yeah, Luka. So that's what I look at it. I don't want to say stat patty. I look at it as Luka. He just scores a lot of points because he has the ball in his hand. He has a high usage rate, and that's what's gonna happen. Like, if you give any other superstar talent high usage, they're probably gonna do the same thing. You know what I'm trying to say? So that's all I have to say about Luka. Like, he's a good player, great player, and everything like that. But can we just pump the brakes just a tiny bit?
Yeah.
I know I'm a hater. I know I'm a hater.
Don't kill me. That's a good point. That's a good point.